Hi, everyone.
Hello, everybody. Our guest for this panel is none other than our beloved and talented author and creator of the Atlantis Grail series, Miss Vera Nazarian.
Hi. Hello. Hello.
Now, to tell you a little bit about Miss Vera, well, best known as the author of the Atlantis Grail series, Vera Nazarian's unique fantasies have made her a two-time nominee for the Nebula Award, the acclaimed author of many short stories, novellas, and fantasy novels, including the historical Renaissance epic, fantasy trilogy, The Cobweb Bride. She has published science fiction, fantasy, contributed to nonfiction books, and many other speculative fiction, novels, and short works. When not writing, she uses her Armenian sense of humor and her Russian sense of suffering to bake conflicted perotsky and make art. And more about her, well, there's a full bio on our official website. Welcome, Vera.
Thank you. Great to be here, you guys. Hello. Hi, everyone. So here we go. This is the first panel, huh? And
yeah.
I'm trying to make sure that I don't have my kitties attack me from every direction.
Well, Vera, I've already had Asen come up to greet everybody. He's wearing his sweater today.
Oh, that's adorable. Asen is that little adorable puppy that you have. Oh, I love him.
So I will start off the questions. You ready?
Okay, go for it.
All right. Okay, Vera, your books cover several genres, including fantasy, science fiction, romance, inspirational, and a few more I'm probably forgetting about. Where do you get your ideas for your various book series?
Okay, great question. And basically ideas are like fish in a big, big ocean. And what happens is you're gonna, you know, wherever you get them, they just show up out of nowhere or everywhere. But, you know, this is one of those questions that people get asked, and I don't even know how to start replying, because every author, basically every single author that gets this question kind of sits there and goes, where did that come from? Oh, quick question before I proceed. My screen shows Nancy. I don't know if this is how it's supposed to look. I don't see myself at all. And
well, you're front and center, and
okay.
That's recorded.
Okay, because I don't see that. Is
oh, really?
Else? Yeah, everybody. I see Nancy in the middle of the screen.
That is, and I see you. So
okay, now there we go. Now I just because I got a little confused, saying, "Am I being recorded? Am I going off?" Okay, so
yeah, it looks like you weren't spotlighted, so I just spotlighted you again, right, Vera. So it should stay on you.
That's why I was like, "What's happening?"
Thank you, Heather.
Technical difficulties. Sorry about that, folks. Okay, just to make sure we got everything.
People are saying they're seeing you. So
yes. Okay. Great. Great. Anyway, how does an author get ideas? Well, here's a silly example I'm going to give you from my childhood. My very first novel that I started to write was called Lords of Rainbow, and I was probably maybe somewhere in junior high or high school. I would say junior high, and I was watching TV. And there was a commercial for the Rainbow Bride doll. Everybody remember the Rainbow Bride doll? It's a cute little doll, and it had like a rainbow picture, and they had like a jingle going, something, look across the rainbow, there's Rainbow Bride. Well, ding, 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 ding. The idea came to me from the most ridiculous, silly kind of thing as a commercial. I came up with an idea of a serious demigods of rainbow, and that was my idea for Lords of Rainbow. So anything can give you an idea. A writer can be walking down the street and looking at the cracks on the sidewalk, and suddenly they think of, oh my goodness, cracked walls, you know, a fortress, and off they go in this crazy imagination roller coaster. So where do I get an idea? Anywhere, it doesn't matter. But the main question would be, what do I do with this idea? Because getting an idea is actually not that difficult. A lot of people get ideas, but they don't sit down and write them. So those of us who are writers kind of tend to focus on what do we do with this idea? How do we organize it? How do we make something interesting out of it? And that's how you get a story. It's kind of like an explanation of what that thing is. How do you deal with this? Maybe what is the meaning behind the thing? So that's what an idea is. Nothing more, nothing less. And sometimes it's silly too. Sometimes it's, it can be just, you think, oh, maybe I should try writing a short story about it, but nah, it's not a good enough idea. It's just silly. But yeah, so that's basically what it is. And a lot of times when people ask this question, the writers sit there and go, how do I even begin to explain this? Because it's nearly impossible to do that. So there you go. I hope that explains it.
Yes, it does. Shelley, you had a question?
Yeah, I'd like to do a follow-up on that, Vera. See if we can get a little bit more out of your brain.
Okay.
So do you have, this is in terms of how your stories come to you, do you have the story first, or do the characters present themselves to you first? Do characters come to you whole and complete, as whole and complete people, and you build a story around them, or do you have the story and the characters come to life as you write the story?
Would you believe neither?
Neither.
This is really strange. What I get is an emotional theme. In other words, do you guys know what, and when you go to school and they teach you, there's theme, you do a book report. What is theme? Most kids just don't understand, but theme to me is actually something so vitally important. Theme is like loyalty, family love, the pain of loss, good versus evil. That's a very easy theme. For example, the Lord of the Rings, people think good versus evil, but that's not the only theme there. The Lord of the Rings theme is mostly, a lot of it is just persistence to get to do the right thing, to do one's duty. That's the theme of Lord of the Rings, besides good and evil. So whenever I start to get an idea for a book that I think is long enough and kind of has enough substance to it to get it into a big series, I start to think of a theme. What is it that I want? What kind of an emotional, painful, powerful, long-running theme that I want to explore? And for example, in the Atlantis Grail, to me, that was family and the loss and basically fighting to keep it together under horrible, difficult times. So to me, with all the wonderful things, all the space aliens and the adventure and, going to the stars and discovering these ancient mysteries, it's still, nothing of it matters without family and without the bonds of family. So to me, that was my big thing. And I wanted to explore that. That's why I had the 4 Gs, the brothers and the sisters. I had the mother and the father with a wonderful relationship in the family. So, not all of us are lucky enough to have a great family. And to many of us, that's actually a secret aspiration more than anything. So that's what I go for. I think of what is an emotional pain, kind of almost like a pang of pain emotionally that will drive the story. And then I go from there. I started thinking, what kind of characters would be experiencing this pain, this longing for something? And then the characters appear, the storyline kind of, plays along. So I love theme. It's a very underrated idea when kids do book reports, and I really wish they understood how important theme really is. So there you go. I hope that gives you an idea.
Okay, Vera?
Yep.
In the Atlantis Grail series, Manala's pet cat, Kenji.
Kenji.
Yes, he is an interesting character. Is he based on any pets of your acquaintance?
Oh dear. Yes, we have Kenji. Now, Kenji is actually a hybrid. He's like a Frankenstein of at least 4 cats. And let me go ahead and explain this. We have in the household that I had when I was living with there was a roommate here, a good friend who had a cat. And I had 3 cats, and there was my mom's cat. And so the house had a bunch of cats. And we had 2 black kitties, one orange and white, and one gray and kind of fluffy. And they all had these characteristics. Two of them would really pass gas a lot of time. So that's
where that came
when you
from.
get the Kenji farts, you would have a cat come up to you and just point their little butt at you and blast away. So you would get, so in fact, Kenji is a combination of Raisin, which is Susan's kitty, my kitty, Sunny, which is also a black kitty, my kitty, what's his name? the stinkers, as I call him, Stevie. He's a unique individual, to be honest, but you know, he could be Kenji all by himself. But so that's Stevie, the gray and white kitty, and then poor Johnny, who is no longer with us. He's a big orange, beautiful orange and white kitty who used to be the biggest farty boy on the planet. And that, you guys, is what Kenji came from. He is a combination. He's the spirit of the cats and all of us. Oh, and the reason I had the whole dragging episode where he gets dragged along on his little, you know, the harness, is because I've dealt with that. I've actually had to teach cats to go outside and walk on the grass, and boy, do they get dragged. So we've done that. We've done the Kenji drag. I know exactly how it goes, how they go up and they start their little tail wrapping, and then the minute you take it off, they're like, oh, I'm fine, nothing happened, carry on. So that's Kenji.
Shelley?
Sure. Okay. It's clear from the books you write that you have a wide-ranging imagination and interests in many things, including ancient history, religion, mythology, archaeology, and science. Where do you think your imagination and interests came from?
Oh boy, goodness. Part of it is, you know, life experience, because I went through a lot of things. I went through immigration from the USSR. I was born in the Soviet Union in Moscow, and my parents and I left the country as refugees. We went to Lebanon, and then the war in Lebanon started. So we were refugees again. We were trying to get out of Lebanon, and we finally made it through Greece to the United States. And throughout all that stuff, basically, you know, the life experiences just kind of piled together. And you know, the only way to write interesting stories is to imagine different neat things. And I think that's what came about. You know, I just started to, you know, think, how would I react in this situation? What would happen when, you know, when you don't really have a home and you're sleeping on a wooden floor, or we in Lebanon, for example, we lived in a big house that somebody just gave. It was almost an abandoned house. And we had 2 cots, and once there was a rat inside a cot, and it was my poor, you know, dad had to get the rat. Then the bathroom was a hole in the ground. It's like it's a stone little room, and there was like a big deep dug, like a latrine that's indoors. So, and they would be these huge roaches all around it, and you had to go around you had to squat, sorry, you know, but you know, there were just some really pretty strange things. It's out of my childhood. So and here I am in the United States. I'm really relieved to be in a more or less stable place, at least now, but you know, the way the world is right now, there's no place to be. I don't know what's a good stable place. Maybe Greece is a wonderful place to go. But there we go.
Hopefully we'll get to go there sometime.
Exactly. You know, I wish, you know, the TADCon Greece, which was scheduled for this year, unfortunately, because of the pandemic, you know, the COVID nightmare, we had to basically postpone to the next year, and hopefully that'll happen. You know, but next year, hopefully the situation will resolve. So. And anyway, there we go. Greece, our aspiration.
Okay, Vera, do you make up all that sciencey stuff that's in the book, or do you seek real science facts to blend into your stories?
Oh yeah, you know, you can't really make things up before, because what happens is if you completely make it up, it becomes fantasy, which is fine. Then it's a fantasy story. But when you're aspiring to write science fiction, or to get, at least label it as science fiction as opposed to fantasy, you want to first look things up, do some research, ask experts, scientists, about what's possible. Just, you know, don't start reinventing the wheel. So don't go completely, you know, you got to have a little bit of a clue before you start making these things. So I did look things up. For example, in the Atlantis Grail, we have the acoustic levitation and the sound-based technology. I did have to kind of, first of all, some of it is actually possible. You, if you guys have gone Googled or gone to YouTube, there are videos of people levitating tiny particles with sound. So, but it's very, you know, it's like, this is all they can do. But this is just one of the things that I had to kind of look around, discover, and the idea of black holes, quantum tunneling, which we're going to talk about in the next panel, the science panel, which is going to be so exciting. But yeah, I did not make this stuff up. And it may sound crazy. For example, the concept of starlight, which you get in Survive Book 4, it really is based on quantum entanglement. So the idea is crazy that you can just like appear on the other end of the universe. But you know what? One of the possibilities is that there is no such thing as space. Space is not, it's not there. So all it is energy, and the dark matter between, what is dark matter? We don't know. So in a way, when you start getting some weird ideas, go to the science, go try to look things up, try to see if it's remotely plausible. And, you know, that's what I try to do. And you know, I'm sure there are mistakes because I'm only human, and I'm sure there are plenty of mistakes in the books, but overall, the general, the overall ideas are more or less kind of on track. At least I hope. Anyway.
Shelley?
Okay, Vera, this one is going to take you far away from the science. You have a great knack for creating amusing swear words, Vera. Where do you come up with these wonderful Atlanteo words?
Oh my goodness. Well, I love language. Go ahead. Oh my goodness. Well, here's what happens. As a non-native speaker, you can probably tell I have a funny little accent, which is Russian. As somebody whose first exposure to language, human language, was Russian back in Moscow as a kid. And then I started to learn some of it in my elementary school, and actually the Russian equivalent of elementary, which is this second grade is when I started in Moscow school number 30 is the one I attended. And we started language, and it was English. And the very first thing I learned in English was the phrase, tick tock, says the clock, talk, tick, be quick. And I remember going, how in the, you know, in Russian, this is like, we're all going, how can we say those strange sounds? What is that? And from there on, you know, fascination with language was great. In my home, I am Russian and Armenian, so I'm half and half. My dad's family is Armenian, and so of course everybody's talking Armenian there. I am not really, I'm not really super fluent in Armenian, but it's kind of like a part of my, again, I'm a bad native speaker. Seriously, it's possible to be a bad, like you can kind of know it, but you're really bad. So that's that. Then because my Armenian family is actually from Georgia, which when I mean Georgia, I'm talking about the Republic of Georgia and the Caucasian mountains of, you know, Caucasus mountains. They spoke more Georgian and Armenian, so it's like I was learning, I don't know, weird languages. And then we came to, obviously we were refugees in Lebanon, and I started to kind of pick up a little bit of Arabic, and I could say things like yalla batiyah, which means, hey, buy a watermelon. You know, stuff like that, but that's all I really remember now. So then finally we came to, we were going through Greece very briefly for a couple of months. And I think I remember things like faristo, which I think means thank you in Greek, but again, just stuff gets in the head. Then we came to, in the meantime, I was speaking in English, kind of, you know, practicing, because that's all you could do, you know, universal language is the English. So we came to America, and I started to, you know, I love to read in Russian, and I would just go for it. And as we went through the grades in school, I started to learn, I took Spanish, and I got pretty good at it. I was, you know, I was really good in Spanish. through high school. And then when I went to college, I took Mandarin Chinese because I just wanted to speak Chinese. I don't know why. There was no career reason for it. I just wanted Chinese. So I took 5 semesters of Mandarin Chinese. And then, and after that, I decided to audit a little bit of German. So I had about a semester of German, and I don't know, I can, again, you know, not even anything. I can hear German words and sort of understand a little bit. But so with all these mixtures, singing, of course, I love opera. So in opera, you sing Italian a lot of times. And a lot of times, a lot of languages that I don't know, I kind of understand what they're saying. If they're like Romance languages, like French and Italian, it's because the roots of words are the same. So once you kind of know a lot of the same family of languages, so you're able to know languages you never studied. And when going back all the way to Atlanteo, well, it was just easy to think, well, here's an ancient, you know, culture. Go back to ancient Egypt, go back to ancient Greece, and just kind of combine the sounds and the terms and the words. And a lot of it is just gut, you know, whatever came to me as a gut sensation that this is the right term for that kind of word. And so when I made the swear words and the exclamatives, or, you know, whatever, like bashtu, you know, that's
Yes.
like, you know, that's a favorite of everyone. Or, you know, raba bashtu, which means like a really, really bad. That's when you really want to swear. So yeah, it's just, and then there's shebet and shidet, which is, one is like the thing, and one is the son of, or like the child. So all these little strange variations of words that, you know, like it just feels right to come out of your mouth. And that's how, there you go.
Well, it's clear to me that a lot of that is just being pulled right out of your imagination, and we're very
Pulled out of a certain place.
pulled out of somewhere. And I'm really glad that you're able to do it, because I know for sure that it's probably beyond my capability. But thank you.
You were
Vera, we've got. Okay, why did you decide to use the ancient Egyptian wedget, or the Eye of Horus as the Cassiopeia eye? And how exactly does it work? What would the wedget eye look like in real life? And what are the differences between the Eye of Horus and the Eye of Ra?
Okay, wonderful question. And I think it's also important to, and I'll tell you why in a minute. Okay, first of all, the spelling is very different. It could be wedjat, wedjet, widjat. It's like there's variations. But I believe the actual meaning of that is whole or complete, and it refers to the eye. It's basically a generic symbol of the eye. And it's in ancient Greece, ancient Egypt, you had the Eye of Horus, which Horus was one of the ancient gods of Egypt. When he was, one of his eyes was taken out by Set, and because he was blinded in that one eye, there's like a whole it's part of the mythology, but he basically regained it later, and that's what made it whole. So there's the Eye of Horus, and the other eye is the Eye of Ra. And I kind of tend to forget. I think Ra is the right side, and Horus is the left. But in any case, so they're drawn like they're opposite, you know, like if you put a mirror between them, they're in 2 directions. And the symbol itself is very unique. People know and recognize it anywhere. So, you know, the Egyptian, it's like an eye with a circle for the eyeball. And then you have like a little curl going underneath, and like a little other triangle, and what those things are, one is like an eye droplet or tear drop, and the other one is sort of like a feather or a curling. It's supposed to be an eye of a falcon also. So the whole thing is a symbolic representation. Now, the reason I get into all these details is when people think of what is the Cassiopeia eye. Okay, Asen and his father Romhutat Cassiopeia, they do not have a curly Q or a teardrop on their eye. Those are just simple. It's like a hieroglyphic. You don't draw those in. What they have is a really thin, perfectly dark eyeline or line around the eyelids. So that's all it is. It just means an eye. There is no curlicue, there's no eye drop, there's no like weird designs. Those are generic pictographs. That's something you see like on the temple walls of an ancient Egyptian temple. And the reason I use the Wedjat as the eye is because it's just perfect. Part of what distinguishes the Cassiopeia, besides the obvious physical kind of like difference of that dark eyelid, is the idea was supposed to be ancient wisdom, kind of like the progenitor of the humanity, of the whole race of human beings. And a lot of more of this would be kind of explained in better detail in the prequel series, which, as you can see on my background, the books are Eos, Dea, Nyctos, Ghost, and Starlight. That's the prequel series called Dawn of the Atlantis Grail, and you're going to find out more about what is the deal with the Cassiopeia. Why were they selected? How were they chosen by some ancient alien super whatevers? So you know now that they, the ones referred to in the Atlantis Grail series as those aliens are not the same aliens who created humanity. So that's going back even further, and that's why we have a prequel series which goes and has a slightly different set of characters, but we'll talk about that later. But
yeah, we do have a panel all about that.
Yes, exactly. The eye is very important. So the eye, again, it's a symbol. You don't literally draw it like with those curlies and the things, but it's a generic, or I'm trying to remember, there's a good term for that. It's either a pictograph or something else. That it's basically a representation of that eye. So it's not necessarily going to be exactly, it doesn't look exactly that way. It's just a symbol for an eye of wisdom, of unity, and power. So it's very important. So that's the Wedjat, and the whole tradition of, for example, putting the Wedjat on the eyes during the rite of sacrifice in Wynn, which you've read about, the very disturbing and, you know, powerful thing that Aeson had to go through, and all the Cassiopeia men. That symbol is, again, it's part of that whole process. That was an ancient ritual that carried the unity, the strength, the passing on of the power of the Cassiopeia to the next generation. So we'll get into that more in the prequel and other things. And thank you for asking that question.
Shelley?
Okay, Vera. This one is kind of a real general question, but I just want to see what you think.
Go for it.
What do you think it is about these books of yours in particular that makes fans react to them so strongly, which we do?
Thank you for saying that, and I'm so glad that you do. But what is it? I am not, honestly, I don't know. But what I think some of it is maybe a combination of detail, because I do put a lot of very, very detailed descriptions. And I know that some contemporary readers are not used to that, but again, I'm going back from a Russian writer background. And you know what Russian writers write? They write books like War and Peace, which are door stoppers. And they put a lot, they put a lot of details in it. So part of, I think, what happens is a modern reader would be like, oh, this is boring. Why am I going through all these names of ships and clothes and buildings and whatever, and what the color of their dress is? But you know what? Without those descriptions, that's not going to stick in your mind as well. So you're going to really, those are going to stay with you. And I know that not everybody likes it, and that's okay too. But I think that's part of what makes you remember the Atlantis Grail series, is because you're going to be, it's very vivid in that sense. It's described until you can see the little dot on the Kenji's little fat butt. There you go. So I think that's it. And of course, the stories are kind of fun too. At least I hope they are. You know, the characters are fun, the love stories, the family bonds. But you know, there are other great writers with other good stories about family and things, but I think it's in the detail.
I think that's a great answer. I'm going to share one person's chat. They said, they are written crack. Can't stop reading. So,
I'm sorry.
You're drugging us.
Oh no, I'm sorry. Well, at least it's a good kind of drug. You're not going to get sick from it. Not, at least not that way.
Shelley, I think you had one more question before we go to the folks that already submitted from the fans, the questions.
I do. This one is more just a thoughtful question about one of the modern issues that we deal with, which is gender. How much attention did you give to gender issues in these books, and did you consciously make gender, and I would say sexual orientation as well, part of your world building?
I think part of what happened in my world building is just a natural generic progression of, this is a person, she's a character, it's a female character. She's the main character of the story, and the world is seen through her eyes. Now, generally, I like to see a variety. I like the diversity. I like the fact that we have people of, you know, not everybody's straight, not everybody's gay. They're ambiguous characters. The people have a different social code in terms of what women are expected to do in society. Nobody's particularly surprised that Oala is like a really kick-ass pilot, and it's just kind of a one thing that I hope to portray in the Atlantean society is that men and women are not really that, there isn't really a patriarchy as much. I mean, it's kind of a more, there is some, because it's a very ancient culture, but overall the women have very great power, just as much as men in many cases. For example, if you've read Survive, you know a certain little priestess, an old little, that basically scares everyone, including Romfutat, the Imperator. She is scary, and she's the most powerful little thing, and she's a woman. So I don't know if I intentionally did it this way, or but it's just something that I feel like when I look at the world, I tend to think that they're people, whatever they are, male, female, just write them as they are. And if the woman happens to be the more powerful one, then that's what happens. If the man is more kind of like whatever the role is considered to be feminine, subservient, which is nonsense. You know, a guy can be a second fiddle to a woman anytime, and they can take turns, and it doesn't really matter. But I do think it's important to make it as equal as possible. And at least I tried. I hope I tried. One thing that I had a lot of fun with was in Survive. And this is the character of Gordy. And a lot of people are asking, if you've read Survive, then you know there's a certain scene where Gordy is asked to dance by a guy. And he, you know, it would be something that either you're gay or you're straight, but Gordy is just Gordy. So he just went ahead and he danced with a guy because he's fine with it. So I think that's a kind of a, you know, the gender that is portrayed there is just, he's just very comfortable with whatever the heck he is. And I don't really tell you what he is. I don't tell you if he's straight or gay or bi or anything else, or if he's, you know, it's just a person, and a person can be open to anything. And at least I hope that's what he came across as. So again, to answer that, it's a gender is a thing that I don't consciously choose to highlight, but I am certainly going to put in there, and it's going to be honest and natural, and it's just going to be however the characters take it. If a character decides they're of a certain orientation, it's going to go that way with them, and it happens. You know, I have, you know, there's a number of characters who are gay or lesbian. There's a number of characters who are you're not really sure what they are, and it doesn't matter, because the story is not, a lot of times people think if it's a gender story, it has to be all about that. Well, no, they can be that without having to do anything else about their sexuality or gender. It's just a story about them as characters in that story.
Well, so for example, you know, Dawn or Rita.
Yes, yeah, Dawn is definitely, she is a lesbian, she's gay, but it's not a big deal. She just is, and that's what the character is. We may get more, because I hope to have novellas of a lot of these characters. So we may discover more, because towards the end, if you've, not to put any spoilers, again, I'm hoping everybody read Survive, but you know, she does dance with one of the other female characters in there. So yeah, there's a possibility happening there between Dawn and another female character. But we never know. We'll see what happens in the stories. And as far as Gordy going back again, I don't know what's going to happen with Gordy yet. We'll see.
In other words, they kind of rule what they're going to do.
Yeah, and it's like, maybe it's undefined for now, but things, with time, people decide, okay, their feelings come out and then their character takes shape more. And it's like, whatever happens happens with these characters. They tell me, really, honestly, I don't know.
I just want to share one comment from the chat, and it's about the priestess Theratot. She pictures her as RBG, so Ruth Bader Ginsburg.
Yes, I love that. Yes, she's tough and little, and she's also just think of very kind of like a really old woman, slim, kind of dried out, very short and tiny, but strong and tough as anything you can imagine. And at the same time, she's got a big heart, but she's not going to be like, she will not be mushy about it. She will be very kind of like warm-hearted, but in a hard love kind of way. Tough love.
Maybe we could get her to play the part.
Oh my goodness.
That would be funny.
Okay, to give us some previous fan questions, Deborah Beatty asked, what is involved in world building with a universe that is big and detailed?
Oh my goodness. Well, you know what? World building is a little bit like you're just kind of, you start with one point and you start drawing around it and around it. Like you're drawing a picture and you put, let's say you begin and you draw a cat. Again, Kenji, for example. And you think, where's Kenji? He's in a big house. Where's the house? It's in a big city or a small city or whatever. Where's the city? It's on this continent. And you go and you keep going out and out and out. So the world grows. You're really not really building anything structured. At least that's how I am. There are two types of writers, you may want to say, what we call people who outline their plotters, and the people who write from the seat of their pantsers. I am one of them. So when I world build, I world build the same way. It's just like, as I'm walking, let's say I'm walking down the street, and what do I see? There's a house. What's in the house? I don't know. Well, let me think. So it just builds and builds. So when you start going to planets and galaxies, you've really built a lot. You've gone quite a long way, but it's all natural. It's an organic approach to world building. You think, what's logically and plausibly the thing that defines it and describes it, and you just keep going, and as it builds itself, it actually gives you more of a view of everything else around it. So if you've built a certain kind of flower, you can put it in a pot, and then you describe the pot and the table it stands on and the room it's and the walls in that room, and you get a lot of details. And that's what I love details, as you guys know that, as you know, because look how thick this guy is. This is Survive. If you can see my background going on and off, but anyway, the Survive. There we go. Thick, very thick. This is what details do. That's how you get world building. You just let it happen.
Okay. So I'll ask another fan question.
Okay.
This one's from Harriet Bennett.
Okay.
He asks, is there a specific reason why Devora doesn't color her hair Cassiope blonde as the Imperatrice?
Imperatrice, yeah, Imperatrice, yeah.
Imperatrice, it might not be a requirement, but wouldn't it be expected?
It's the opposite, and let me explain why, okay? The idea of coloring their hair is an aspirational thing. People outside the Cassiope family all want to be like Cassiope, and they're putting the hair, gold dye on the hair and the eyeliner to get the wedge out eye, the Cassiope eye, and they want to show their support to the royal dynasty. And this is fine, that's what is expected. But once you're in the dynasty, it is beneath you. So if Devora actually did anything to her hair, people will say, what the heck is wrong with this wife of the Imperator? She's already his wife. She should not be, doing anything to say that she needs this. She's achieved the level of Cassiope. So to do that, anybody in the family is natural, like whatever you're married at, once you're in Cassiopeia, if you happen to be not of the blood, but you're just married into the family, you are proud of whatever the shade you have because you have been chosen. So it's the, if she did anything to herself to do that kind of thing, you know, to try to look like Cassiopeia, that would actually be an insult to the dynasty she's a part of. So that's why that Deborah would never ever do that to her hair.
I sort of see it
you know,
as Deborah is the wife and mother of
yeah,
gods.
she is the wife and mother of the royal dynasty, and royal or imperial in this case. So, and it's also a divine dynasty. So to do anything, to have to aspire to anything is way beneath her. So she would never do that to her hair. And now you see why. So anybody who is not Cassiopeia wants to be Cassiopeia. Anybody who's already Cassiopeia by marriage or blood has to do nothing. That's all. That's how it works.
I have a follow-up question that I don't think was ever answered in the books.
Let's hear it.
Is Lady Tiri's hair naturally blonde, or does she dye?
I did not specify, but we can assume that her hair may be a slightly different blonde, but she certainly put a lot of gold dye in that hair. She is aspiring like everybody else in court. So yes, I'm sure, even if she was naturally kind of blonde, whatever you see now is super duper dye job. Yeah.
So I have another follow-up question, which is just minor. Is Oala's hair naturally blonde? Whether
no, she colors it. So Oala's hair, in fact, I don't tell you guys, but I think it could be actually dark. Okay. I haven't really said it, but it might be like a brown. So yeah. Oala could be just brown hair, but she's a golden Cassiopeia, you know, she's doing the proper high society lady, you know. So yeah, she's not naturally blonde.
Okay, we have got, believe it or not, just 5 minutes left.
Yikes.
My alarm. Don't you like my alarm? So I'm going to ask another question.
Go for it.
This was from Brenda O'Callahan. And folks, if I mispronounce your names, I apologize. The question is, Vera, did you take up running or exercising to learn the difficulties to overcome?
Well, I've had a lot of my life stuff to overcome already, so I didn't really do that. But I did study Tai Chi. I haven't had any like other martial arts, but Tai Chi is it really is based on a martial art. But it's when you stand in you've seen people do these slow movements, slow flowing movements in the park, Tai Chi. So I've done that, and a lot of it is. It's the same idea. Tai Chi is a martial art originally. So I've studied that. I'm not a good runner. Like just like Gwen, I would probably die if I had to take it.
Me too.
Never a good runner. I was horrible running. So I'm not even going to try that. I just, you know, at this point in my life, it's a little too late too.
Shelley, do you have another fan question?
Sure. I'm going to go with, did our troll boy, Anu, and Genio, ever visit the RQC, or did they stay the entire time on the airship? I'm wondering because Anu mentioned the rubbish fish he ate on Earth.
Well, as you can tell, because he mentioned rubbish fish, or, you know, horrible, you know, yucky to him fish, he definitely had fish on Earth, so you can assume that he did. Now, I don't specify it, but yes, they have been, you know, because they were aides to their, you know, commanding officers. So of course they would go down there. You just don't know about them because they, at that point, nobody, you know, they were not a part of the story then. So for all practical purposes, Anu or Genio could have been just walking around the RQC doing some errand for him, and you never knew that because Gwen would not have known it at that point in the story. She would not have been, you know, aware to look at, just another Atlantean officer, you know, or group of officers. So yes, you can definitely assume they did that. So they were.
Okay. I believe this will probably be our final question. This is also from Harriet Bennett. What characteristics in the Astrodiamond made you assign them their specific call signs. They are all names of gods or deities. For example, Oala is Bastet, goddess of cats. Karavat is Sobek, god of water in the form of a crocodile. And Arita is Tefnut, the goddess of moisture, etc.
Well, it's more of a gut feeling. When I looked at the gods, because one of the things to do to assign call signs, it's sort of, you want to give that person whoever you think is the best representation of that character. And a lot of times I would just look at names, look up the different gods in the ancient Egyptian pantheon and just say, does this feel like Kerovat or not? And I felt that Sobek, the crocodile god, he had that kind of, there's something about him. So nothing was very specifically based on, you know, this is their property, goddess of moisture, God, you know, whatever. No, this is just a feeling I had. I looked at the description of those gods or goddesses, and I said, okay, that's Erita, and she's going to be Tefnut. And that's Oala, she's Bast, you know, Bastet or Bast, or however you pronounce it. So I just, a lot of it is by gut. And to be honest, this is something that a lot of writers need to tell you. we do. A lot of our decision making goes by what we feel is an unknown gut feeling that we get. And we say, this sounds right, this feels right, and this is what the person's name or designation is going to be. For example, Aeson is Phoebos, which is not the same as Phobos, the moon. It's a different word. And it's not the same as Phoebus, which is the spelling of Phoebus Apollo. I actually changed the spelling, and it's a different word. So I wanted to kind of hint at the idea of the sun god, again, because it's sun, the whole, the Cassiope dynasty is all solar, you know, it has this sensation, you know, the symbol of the sun disk is their symbol. But I didn't want to be very blatant about it. So I just had this gut feeling, and I gave Aeson that designation as an example. And and Zelio, for example, Zelio, or however you want to pronounce it, you can say Xelio or Zelio, is either is fine. He is Shamash, which is also a sun god. in a I think it's either ancient Babylonian or Sumerian.
I thought it was Mesopotamia.
Yes, Mesopotamia, right. So that's also a sun god, and he's sort of like the dark sun and the bright, a different type of sun god to Aeson's sun god. There you go.
Vera, I'd hate to cut you off, but our time is up.
Oh dear.
I know. So, Shelley, you want to give the announcement?
I will give the announcement. So we are done with this panel, but we have another one coming up pretty fast. And that one is Starlight and Astrophysics, Mind-Blowing Science. And we'll have scientists from NASA and the Jet Propulsion Lab and other places. So go to Discord, go back to Discord, find the schedule for Starlight and Astrophysics, which starts at 2 p.m. and click on the link for Zoom there. So we'll be shutting this one down, and you have to go actively enter the next one in Zoom, but do it through Discord. I hope that makes sense to everyone.
Thank you, Vera. Thank you, Shelley. Thank you, everybody, for watching. And we'll see you in the next panel. Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.